YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. We've got the A-10 with 30 millimeter EDFs. Obviously you can tell this thing looks a little bit different than the first one, and also it runs on a little something different too. Let's check this out before we even get up in the air. Look at that, 3S, 850 milliamp hour, Gen 2. It's got IC20 connect, or IC2 connectors on there rather. And so far, really happy with the way they're working out. We've got some adapters we'll show you a little bit later. But let's do some taxiing and then take off. Throttle cuts off, timer set to 5 minutes. Smart ESC, or at least telemetry on all this stuff. Really impressed with the way this is running. We backed off our servos to 97%. Don't know if that's gonna be necessary. Look at that, that turns so sharp, nice. We're out of safe right now for the Maiden. Oh yes. A little bit of trim on the elevator needed, about 30% throttle there. This thing is powerhouse. Holy goodness gracious. That's 50% throttle there.
Wow.
Giving it some down trim. Okay, let's trade sides so the sun's behind us. Out of the throttle, let's see how it glides. There's full throttle. Yeah, that thing is really powerful. That is awesome. As you can see, I still have some trimming issues for the elevator. Man, I had a lot of trim there. I don't know if you could hear that on camera, but. Okay, coming in down the runway. It is not dead calm, incidentally, but boy, that thing is grass takeoff. Nice. The rudders are super effective. ES3X has this locked in rock solid. Almost feels like maybe I could put that battery back or forward a little bit. It's not squealing quite as much as I remember the Cessna Citation Longitude.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's still kind of got that obnoxious squeal to it with those EDFs.
Mm-hmm.
But to be honest with you, it's not. It doesn't seem quite as bad. That's 50% throttle to recover out of that, by the way, guys. Just loving the way it flies. It's real easy flying. And we are not dead calm here, and this is definitely a UMX. Giving my camera crew a run for our money here. Guys, this thing will do the tight spots, no problem. Really efficient wing. I'm surprised how well it's doing. Kind of forgot about the backdrop being so kind of brown right now with no foliage yet coming in. Here it is, spring in central Iowa, 2021. But boy, that looks so cool, doesn't it?
It looks really good. I mean, it's small, but I think they're going to be able to see it okay.
That's what she said. Sorry, Horizon. That's full speed pass there. Let's bring one down here by the Eagle killing zone. The, not bald eagle, but F-15 Eagle. Looks like we got a little excessive AS3X action on the rudders there. Very effective on the AS3X here, guys. For a UMX, this thing is just flying flawlessly. And I say for a UMX, meaning that it is an EDF. Electric ducted fans. Historically, the little 27 millimeters just didn't perform very good. Look at that stall turn, guys. Awesome. This 5 minutes is gonna fly by so fast, pun intended.
It is.
Hey.
Yeah.
So the other day, guys, I was flying off camera the Pilatus PC-21, awesome plane, by the way. And there were some geese that were in formation before I came and enjoyed some company with them. It was hilarious and awesome.
They didn't accept you as one of their own.
They did not. I was just getting some error message or telling me how hot the ESCs are or aren't. Camera crew, let's switch sides for the landing. If you want to go over to the other side, please. Beautiful silhouette there. Let's see if we can do a relatively steep approach here. Oh yeah, that is gonna be no problem at all, guys. I just wanna do it from the other direction here. See if the wind is better. We got a crosswind tonight, of course.
275 Fahrenheit.
The ESC is 275 degrees Fahrenheit. Whoops. That's 100% throttle. We're not low on battery yet.
8 volts, 12 amps, 5,275 Fahrenheit.
I wonder how warm the foam has to be to melt. Woo!
Hopefully less than 275 degrees.
Well, let's
Fahrenheit.
check it out before we continue. That was not the best landing, guys. I'm a little embarrassed. I would normally go right back up, but I want to check this out and see if the telemetry is lying. Look at those EDFs, guys. Gorgeous little brushless motors. Look right above. That doesn't sound like geese.
No, there's the birds over there are lost.
Oh, they are?
That's what we're hearing. There's like baby ducks or something.
That's what it is?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and pull the let's pull the, well, actually, you know what? Let's not. Let's try this instead. Let's leave the battery in there. Where is the ESC? It's right inside of there. It's right about here, but I can't see it anyway. So let's double check the telemetry. We'll just unhook for this. Those do not sound like geese.
Really do not.
So weird. Okay. I don't see anything funny. Look at that, we still have power. We're gonna fly some more. I don't know. I don't see anything to be alarmed about. I'm going back up for a little bit, guys.
Okay.
So that was a full 5-minute flight and then some. We had what, 5 minutes and then a go around?
Yeah.
So what I'll do is oh, look at this, not fully charged. That's okay. We're throwing caution to the wind. Okay, the wind's coming over my right shoulder, so by rights, I should probably be taking off this other way here. So I'm gonna see if I can get a better roll and then see if I can get a better landing. We're gonna probably push it pretty quick. Oh, wow, that is an awesome turning radius. Here we go. About 50% throttle. We'll see if we can drag it out. 50% throttle there. Man, that is just really pretty. The sun is gonna wash it out, folks. Oh, let's see how safe works. Okay, there's safe. Look at that snappy thing. See this, when I let go of the sticks? Look at this, folks. Limited bank angles, and it just keeps it going straight. I'm not even looking at it. Not even looking at it, guys. Nice, safe behavior. Got lots of room to move. That's like 50% stick inputs there, guys. Look at that. That is amazing on safe. It's doing just wonderfully.
12 amps, 5,275 Fahrenheit.
Says 275 Fahrenheit. That must be the magic number, eh?
Must be.
Okay, so with safe on, boy, that is gonna make landing so easy for people. A little bit less rudder authority, but that's okay. Hey, camera crew, I'm gonna go over here if you don't mind.
Do you want me to stay?
Yeah, you can stay.
Okay.
The runway is wide enough to take it this direction here.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna relax into this, out of the throttle. Oh, yes. Oh man, she's rolling like crazy.
Wow.
So the moral of the story so far is, boy, safe works good. That was a safe landing. I almost never land in safe. All right, so we're out of safe. We're gonna take off again. Beautiful. About 50% throttle here, folks. Coming around, we're out of safe this time. We're gonna see how we can do it without safe. We're gonna bring it under the power lines this time. Oh yeah, look at that, guys. Just gorgeous wheels up, wheels down action. This thing just does really good job. I'm surprised how awesome it's doing. Throttle cuts on. The nose gear, to me, when I was landing, it looked like it was bent back, but it's still a little bit forward and really good authority. I felt like there was no absence of control in any of the axis. If anything, it's almost a little bit much. Like I could put a little bit more expo into it and it would still feel good. So really happy with that. Let's check the telemetry again because we are, into the flight time, another 4 minutes. So we did like a 9-minute flight,
Yeah.
I would say, safely. And then the telemetry puts, the battery is still not empty. That is, it'd be nice to see a percentage there instead of this like ambiguous model here.
Do you want to check it?
No, let's go around. Because that's what we do here. We fly until they crash, so you don't have to. We're gonna go up to the higher expo setting and we're gonna go down to 90% rates on that same setting. So we'll see how this does. Oh, so gorgeous. Oh, folks, that thing is just rock solid in the air. 40%, 30% throttle here. This thing would probably do a 2S just as good, which is what we did with the Cessna Longitude. And I can tell you one thing about it is that it is really forgiving and very fun to fly. I am just loving flying it. Kind of wish we had some more greenery on the trees to share because that means it'd be warmer too, but it's actually not bad right now. We've been dealing with some horrifically bad weather, folks. Now I'm getting a warning, folks. Okay, I'm gonna turn around. We'll land it this other way. You good for a minute there, camera crew?
Yep.
Okay, obviously we're an AS3X here. We'll just see if we can relax it just over the top of the power lines. Oh no! We got a juicy grass landing. I couldn't believe it when we came off of the driveway and it still rolled after going into the grass. That never happens on these little planes. Okay, hold this. So obviously we got a little bit of schmutz in there, but that's no big deal. I would say just amazing performance. I'm super, super happy with this. I'm curious how well this thing is gonna perform on another type of battery. So why don't we go ahead and pull this out. We'll go ahead and do a test, see what we got for voltages. There's a little bit of Velcro right here. It's on the inside. So you just gotta be careful. It is thin here like it was before, which is one bummer, I would say. So if you're concerned about breaking the nose off, like so many have complained about on the previous model, then you can either never have a bad landing or just reinforce a little bit if you think that's necessary. I'm gonna unplug this. That Velcro is not wanting to let go very good. And I cut that Velcro in half, folks.
And that was not a very big piece to start
No,
with.
I think what's happening is it might be kind of peeling off of the pack a little bit. So why don't we pause it? We'll come right back. Okay, so we have a butter knife. We're close enough so it's easy. I just want to make sure this separates. See this? I'm just going to slide that in there and just walk it between the Velcro because I don't want to lose my Velcro. This is where I put my Velcro. So I don't know if you guys are going to run into that same situation that I did, but this butter knife is perfect. Just use that to release it. And then every time I turn the battery, it wants to stick back down there. So far the Velcro has worked really good, but it's just a little bit sticky, which is great. Okay, so the Velcro held the battery. It didn't seem to shift at all. The center of gravity was super easy to check. And I felt like the center of gravity could go a little bit either way and it still would have been fine. So let's check the battery with the XBC 100 Smart Checker. I do have this adapter that goes to an EC3. As you know, you need the EC3 to plug in there. And so that takes you down to and it's got the data port in the middle. So when we plug this in, you're gonna get a full representation of everything. 20%. That is pretty amazing. So
Yeah.
you could conceivably do a 10-minute flight without really pushing it. Well, it depends on how you're behaving during the 10-minute flight. I did go over my 5-minute timer at the beginning. I was a minute 47, I think, when we cleared it, somewhere in that range. So we actually technically flew a little bit over 10 minutes, but I kind of ruled out a little bit of the taxiing and stuff like this. As you can see, the telemetry disappears when you disconnect the battery. So since we're inside, we'll go ahead and set up the next battery. It's a little bit warmer in here right now. Now there's also this adapter. If you're going to use JST connectors, these batteries were awesome in the Cessna Longitude UMX, which, by the way, is a great plane. I love that plane. I ended up putting flaps on mine too, if you're curious. But this thing here is a 3S, and of course it's going to have your JST connector. So this is not a smart pack. So we're just going to use the adapter here. And we will link to all this stuff down below in the video description. So if you decide you want to try to buy one, you can follow the links and help support our channel. We'd really appreciate you doing that. And so we're just going to slide this in. This is it seems like a much lighter battery. Oh, by the way, guys, this thing is sub 250 grams, just in case you're wondering. So let's measure the batteries for weight difference. We did not do that in our Unbox build setup. There's not really any build to do, but you'll see. Okay, so in terms of grams, this is 70 grams, and then this one is 67. But then with the adapter, I suppose that's going to add a little bit more weight, right? So let's try that, because you don't need an adapter with that one. So yeah, so you're within 2 grams. Now 2 grams on a UMX will be a factor, but it's a very, very small factor even still. The other thing too is if you're using a voltage alarm, then you can plug that in with the balance lead on this. But you know, you're going to have telemetry, I believe, still. So let's try that, because there is no data port here. Okay. Let's plug this in. Okay, so we're just going to tuck that down. You see what I'm doing? I'm just tucking that down so that it doesn't interfere at all with the rudder servo, or it interferes very little. Let's put it that way. Now let's compare the flight times that we experience. Okay, I just want to make sure that's down far enough. It feels like maybe there's a little bit of upward pressure going on. That should be better now. This canopy is beautiful, but it's soft, so you got to be a little bit careful. Same is true for virtually every UMX I've ever flown. Okay, so we have our telemetry voltage here, which is really nice. Okay, clear the timer. So we'll go ahead and take this one back up. Oh, you know what I forgot to do?
What?
Check this out. I forgot to go into system setup. Yes. Model name. Nope. Aircraft type. Next. I forgot to change the picture.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
How could you?
It's pretty crappy of me. There you
I can't
go.
believe it.
I mean, obviously you got to have the A-10 on there.
Are you going to adjust your expo settings at all?
Yeah, you know what? It didn't make a humongous difference.
Okay.
I felt like it was okay either way. So this one was the one that we just used?
Yes, because I have the other.
Okay, so while we're at it, we'll just plug this into the Gen 2 charger real quick. This is the S2200. So far it's been working really good. And you'll notice that I'm using that adapter. Plug it in. Okay, so it's going. I've been super happy with all the smart technology. Has been working out way better than I expected. We need to check the CG. This is a different size battery. Oh. It's very similar. Okay, so we're just a little bit on the nose heavy side there. Well, that's surprising. I did not expect that at all. I felt like I had it about the same spot. Nope, I must have had it too far forward.
More leads and stuff.
Yeah, right. Okay, so we got that. In fact, that's not a bad point. I could use those leads to help me balance the CG out. It just seemed like that smart pack is so much bigger, but it's not. It's just deceiving that it's bigger, you know? Mm-hmm. It may be spatially a little bit wider at points, but it's not actually bigger in terms of weight, which is our enemy in the aircraft. Oh yeah, That's perfect. So basically you're checking the CG right behind that red thing. So if you don't want to mark your plane, especially on a UMX, I don't like marking them because it's a big marking compared to the size of the plane, and you can definitely see it. So let's go back out, and we'll do some taxiing this time too. Got it?
I grabbed the battery checker.
Oh, you
in
did?
case
Thank
we
you.
need it. Yep.
Okay, so we'll do some taxi this time, and timer's clear. You can see it handles the bumps okay. It's not great with the big bumps between the concrete chunks, you know. Okay, just trying to decide which direction is going to be the best for takeoff because the wind is a little bit back and forth. Okay, I feel it over my right shoulder, so let's go ahead and go that direction.
Okay.
Ready? Okay, so this pack is much more annoyed with me. I can already tell. We're going between the house here.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't know if maybe this pack is just upset with me or this ESC is just really pulling a lot of amps. On, over here. Let's go all the way over to the bowl. Guys, I just want you to understand it's not calm, it's windy. I mean, it's not like insanely windy, so I don't mean to mislead, but it is definitely not calm. That thing looks good. I'd like to be able to go a little bit slower, but the wind is kind of kicking me when I go slower, you know? If I could keep it flat, I could probably go a little bit slower. Yeah, you feel that, camera crew?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Coming around the house, it's pretty windy.
Yep. You guys hear that beeping? The telemetry warning that you're hearing is because I have a pack. One of the cells is probably sagging a little bit. 10.6 volts. 5,275 Fahrenheit, huh? I'm pretty sure that might be
wrong.
Might be a glitch. If it's that hot, it would be shooting flames, I think. Oh man, we have an invader. Did you hear that again? What is it, a loon or something?
I don't know. There's some weird geese today.
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
That's so weird. Guys, I'd say this plane, it's surpassing all my expectations, and it's doing a really good job of just general flying. The nose does make me a little bit nervous because it is pretty thin. I know some of you guys are gonna have some rough landings and then you're gonna be upset because the nose will break, but I think the best thing I can tell you is if you're not sure, use safe and land in some tall grass if you can. But just this thing is just flying great, guys. And that's about a 10% roll there. Let's do a full rate roll. It'll just roll really quick, guys. All right, I want to try to bring it in from the other direction for a landing here, camera crew.
Okay.
You good?
Yep.
We have plenty of room, so if you stay on that side, I'll stay on this side.
Okay.
A little too fast. nice little bounce there at the end. Speaking of, I'm not taking it. We're doing it again.
4 volts, 12 amps, 5,275 Fahrenheit.
Oh no! Everybody died. Throttle cuts on. So are you filming?
Yeah.
Basically, I got to the point where I had no more lift and I was touching down. I'm definitely not going to take that as my final landing. Okay, let's check for damage. Well, so far so good.
Do you want to check the battery while you're open?
Nah,
Okay.
I'm just going to push it to the
I
limit.
didn't think so.
See this? I have a rub, but that was from my sudden stop over there. You feel the wind? The wind is coming this way. And so I was in it and I think I got totally crosswinded.
Yep.
So there was just no lift at the end there. Okay, camera crew, you want to work your way back?
Yep.
I could land this way if you just kind of go into your position there. You good?
Yeah.
Okay. Here goes nothing. Nice, nice. Oh, that is so good. Did you see it get airborne again?
It rolls out a long ways.
Well, I know, it's like weirdly surprising.
Yeah.
I think if we move the CG back, like if we just put that battery back, we could flare more, but you're gonna run the risk of dragging the tail and you're gonna mark it up bad.
Yeah.
10.7 volts, 9 amps, 5,205 Fahrenheit. ESC. Volts, 5 amps, 5,275 Fahrenheit.
Okay, so the throttle cut's on. I'm at 148 on top of 5. So that would be a total of 6.5 minutes.
Yeah, that's about
Because
right.
we had to run over to it when I flipped it on that one landing.
Yep.
So I would say that let's check the voltages and let's see just how much we consumed of this pack. Now keep in mind, apples to apples, this is a year-old pack. It's been used quite a bit. Was it last year we did the Longitude? Yeah, the Cessna Longitude. I think so. Yeah, it was definitely last year. This pack is way hotter. Oh my goodness. Feel it.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's
it's
twice
warmer.
as hot as the other one. That's crazy. You wouldn't think so, but this connector has so much more surface area than a JST. The JST has a very thin pin that goes into a very thin socket. And so as a result...
We didn't bring our adapter out.
Oh, we didn't? Okay, so we'll pause it and come right back. All right, folks, so we're gonna plug in this adapter again. I would say that adapters are a little bit annoying because they are, but let's be honest, guys, we're used to the micro pH connectors for the 2S Ultra Micros. Okay, so it's still thinking. Oh, you know why? Because I have to plug in the balance lead.
Oh.
Because this isn't a smart pack.
Pesky balance lead.
Yeah, look at that.
Wow.
But that thing was alarming
bad.
like the entire flight. So that being said, even though it is warm, it's definitely doing a good job of flying the plane. I think that you would have to set your telemetry warning down a little bit if you're gonna use this Onyx 800. This is definitely not the preferred battery. The preferred battery, which by the way, look, we're 41 minutes from full charge. This is the battery you want. If you buy this plane, just do yourself a big favor and order this battery because it is awesome. And plus then of course you have the right connector. And you're going straight from this connector with lots of contact area here. So that's definitely a positive thing. Very impressed with the plane. I mean, this thing does, and I mean, it looks just the way I expect for a UMX. It's very solid. The steering is a little bit sloppy, but that's pretty typical. I mean, it's not as sloppy as like some of the other competitive brands like what we have here, the E-Sheen 400mm series, or like that F-16. That was the worst one they did. In terms of ground handling, it was horrible. You couldn't even ground handle. But there are planes that have better ground handling in the UMX lineup, namely the Cessna Longitude. Because of the fact that it has shorter landing gear, there's just less wiggling. So you're gonna have that, or you're gonna tend to have that on the UMXs that have taller gear. That being said, the taller gear do give it some springiness. Yes, the landing gear do come off. No, I'm not gonna fly it because I don't have a great place to land it right now, and I don't really wanna sacrifice this beautiful finish just quite yet. And that is something you need to keep in mind, is that if you fly this and you hand launch, when you land, you can come in and install the thing, but don't break the nose off doing that. So when you come in to fly, bring it as low to the ground as you can and drag the tail on the ground is what I'd recommend. And make sure you've got some grass to do that in too. Try not to hit bushes because the stems and sticks will break these planes. So that being said, definitely like this thing. It's beautiful. It does everything I expected it would do. And the 30mm EDFs are the solution to the ultra micro problems that Horizon had in the past. They are firmly in the past. Let's just hope. I mean, there is still a few that are 27 or 28mm. I think there might be a MiG still that's available. But all I can say is, I know that I wanted the UMX A-10 bad when it came out first, but everybody was griping on it. And so I decided not to get it. Well, this thing is awesome. And I mean, the Longitude was awesome and is awesome, by the way. I've got two of them in this room. Look how cool that looks that is one of the coolest radio controlled decorations that you can get.
It's the only one he's talked me into, except for
those.
all of that stuff and all of
But
that
if you can have your airliners out for decorations, then evidently that's the general aviation planes, that's okay. But you can't put warbirds out,
okay,
right?
is a relative term.
Well, I told you we could hang it on the wall. So
what I
anyway,
thought
if you
too.
guys, and you know what else was nice about this model? I didn't have to put one decal on, not even one no step, okay? I know it's a minor detail, but to be perfectly honest with you, right now in this stage of our lives, we're busy. We got 4 kids. We got lots of stuff going on. Obviously, I work full time, as you guys already probably know if you watch the channel. And so just having something that I can open and go fly right now, it's very valuable. Now, that being said, if you're a new RC pilot, this plane is not maybe so much that you couldn't do it. It's just more that you need to plan on like bringing the glue with you to the field and the tape, because you'll destroy it very easily if you run into something. It's not going to be very robust or resilient. Even this Longitude is probably a bit stronger. There are some weak points on it in terms of where it will break, but it's quite strong and stout. It's also heavier. So, and this is the one I added flaps to. And yes, I do have screwdrivers in there that are, they counterbalance it so it sits down like this. And what a stinking sweet looking thing to have sitting on your table. Anyway, so getting back to this plane, I kind of compare the two because it's the only two that Horizon has let out that are going to have this dual twin engine setup. So I am really excited to hear about some of the new things that are coming that may feature twin engines in the UMX lineup. And you can just let your, oh, there's a cat. I thought the cat was attacking. You can just let your, what am I trying to say? Imaginations
run
wild. Because with this power system, you can do so many cool planes. And I mean, I'm thinking about them right now, but I can't say them because if I guess right, I could get in trouble. So anyway, at that point, you know, we'll be bringing those to you too as soon as we can. The NX6 has been glorious. We will be doing our NX8. I just wanted to point out that there is quite a bit of trim here. See this on the elevator? Okay. So now I can't sit here and say with 100% certitude, you know, exactly where it should be, because it's actually quite hard to tell where the elevator is positionally because of the way the rudders are configured on this plane. So I'm just gonna say, if you can get it to trim, that's fine. It's gonna be a little bit challenging to make that mechanical adjustment, but if you're gonna make a mechanical adjustment, you'll take a flat bladed screwdriver and bring it in here and just open that up. That'll push the rudder down, or excuse me, the elevator down. And then you can just take back to the skies after having centered your trim, of course, and then see what it does. If you overdid it, it's gonna go down, and you have to do that in expert mode. I've had a few people ask me that. You do have to come out of safe. You don't wanna be in safe when you're trying to make trimming because the plane doesn't know the difference between you doing this and trim, okay? So as a result, you need to basically make the mechanical trim so you only have a small amount of trim. Okay, otherwise it's going to cause the AS3X to maybe not be as responsive as you'd like it to be because it's going to think you're giving it input.
Could that have been a wind issue today?
The elevator?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
The elevator was the elevator. That
Okay.
was, no, that was, I mean, sometimes we have that with the rudder, but this elevator needed quite a bit of trim. Okay. Now that could also be a CG issue to a certain extent, but I kind of doubt it. The one thing I just want you guys to take away from this is not only the fact that this is really cool, and it's obviously really cool. You guys get that before you even clicked on the video. You're like, wow, that's cool. But there's a lot of cool looking planes, and then there's a lot of planes that also work good. And I want you to take that away before you discount a plane like this. Because not only does this look good, it's easy to store. You can transport it in that box that's provided. It's a very good box, but it works, it flies. It's not just a pretty thing that you can put on the shelf, although you can do that. So keep that in mind when you're making your purchasing decisions. This thing is great. Definitely check the link in the description below. We really appreciate you guys helping to support our channel by buying from the links. You've been doing it a lot, and we really do appreciate it. Also, we're getting close to the 100,000 subscribers. I had somebody the other day saying, is that when you stop replying to our comments? And I was like, why would you say that? You know, it's like, why would I do that? I'm a glutton for punishment, you know? So definitely check for this, check for that. We'll go ahead and link to the batteries, and we'll link to the special connectors that are kind of new. Some of you might have them, but I kind of doubt it. So definitely come back for more. Click the like, subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. And definitely click the bell for notifications. You may have kind of figured out a pattern for when we release. We try to release about 10 o'clock Central Standard Time. And so that way you guys can watch these videos at work. And if you have any problems with your boss, just get them sucked into the hobby and then that problem will disappear. Anything else, camera crew?
I think that's it. We're going to do the unbox and stuff next, so if they want to see how easy it went together.
Yes.
And a more in-depth look at the connectors and that kind of stuff, we did all that too.
Yep, the unbox and radio setup, which, I mean, there's not really an assembly, but we did go over kind of charging, how to set things up, and then how to change the charge rates and things like that. We haven't done that, except for maybe back when we first set up the G2 charger. So if you want a refresher or you're not sure what you're looking at yet, definitely stick around for a few minutes. And don't feel bad if you don't want to watch the entire, any of our videos. We understand that you're here to facilitate answering questions, learning a lot about maybe a new product, or maybe you just want to find out if it's everything you expected it would be. And we understand that. We're with you because that's exactly what I was doing when I got in the hobby, and I'm just trying to kind of do my part and help bring you guys along. And we really appreciate you being here. Come back for more. YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. Look at this. Look at this. We haven't had a little box like this that isn't in a garbage bag for a long time. We're gonna cut it open right now. You may be wondering to yourselves, what is that? What is that? Well, you probably already know because of the thumbnail and / having watched it fly already. And the title of the video and word searchability. Oh my goodness, look at that beautiful end of the box. Guys, don't freak out. These are 30 millimeter EDFs. Oh yeah, buddy. Show them over there. 30 millimeters, just like the Cessna Longitude. Oh boy. Camera crew. Oh boy. Wow. Whoa. That is so stinking beautiful. And you know what's so nice about beautiful camo like this is that this is gonna show up in the sky a lot better than the gray. I like the gray, I like the navy colors a lot, but you know what? This is gonna show up so much better against the gray sky. So beautiful. Twin 30 millimeter EDFs. Oh yes, these rudders really do work too, it looks like. So, I wanna talk about this for a second. We do have a beautiful NX8. We are not going to dissuade you from getting the NX8, but we do want to use the NX6 to show that the NX6 will work just fine with this. But the NX8 is awesome, and that's what we're going to start switching over to soon. Also, we have some new Gen 2 smart packs, which are 850 milliamps, and we're going to show that too, which is just awesome. 3S, 850 milliamp. We're going to cut those open as soon as we're done. So stick around for that part. And then of course, we're going to show you these adapters. You may want these adapters. The stupid smart sticker is right in the way. Look at this. Right there. Here you go. That's what it looks like. So we have the IC3 to the, what is that? IC2. IC2. Okay. So we'll see how that works. Obviously these batteries are going to be smart, which is really cool. So we'll see the extent to which they are smart. And this is one of my favorite. Here, let's just show you the whole box because there's just not that much going on with this. It's 20.3 inches long, 21.1 inches wide. It's only 131 grams. So if this is below 250 grams, no FAA issues at all. You don't have to do the drone registry then. It's a skill level 2, so I'm assuming that just an EDF thing. Wow, that is so gorgeous. Look at this. That is so gorgeous. That is one of my favorite. That is one of my favorite features. Okay, little piece of Velcro here, guys. Comes with it. And you just peel the tape, and that's like pretty much the assembly right there. Oh yes. That looks so stinking gorgeous. I'm loving it already. Look at that huge vent there. Look at this huge vent. Oh, it's not even centered. That's so cool, just like on a real one. The landing gear look like they'll come out super easy. The only thing missing on this plane is flaps, but don't worry guys, we'll survive maybe. That is so pretty, wow. And this thing is light, it is extremely light. Those EDFs look good. Lots of dimpling here, which is unfortunate, but I don't think it's gonna make a difference in the flight performance. Canopy looks good. The size of the head is pretty close. Oh, I love it. It's got the gun on the front, so pretty. The warthog on the front. Okay, so let's see if it sits with the tail down. Yep, they always seem to do that. Oh, and then now we've got a little adapter here. I don't know if it comes with this one, but this is a smart connector with a JST. So we're gonna have that for some of the other batteries that we've got. So we'll link to all the connectors in the video description. Obviously we'll link to the plane like we always do. And if you're new to the Ultra Micro Extreme, which is what UMX stands for, then we will obviously walk you through this whole process of setting up the transmitter. These packages are great for transporting these planes. And you're like, but Brian, it's really easy to transport. Yeah, it's, you know, surprisingly hard to do it without damaging. There's spots for batteries right here that's molded in. Super nice. And then in typical fashion, the manual is taped to the bottom, okay? So we're gonna pull that off of there, and we will go through the process of weighing the all-up weight to see if this falls under the 250 gram limit, or if it's gonna be just over. It just kind of depends on the packs on some of these airplanes. The UMXs are historically pretty small, and that's obvious because it's ultra micro. But I just want you guys to understand, some of these ultra micros are smaller than others. Okay, yeah, this thing feels super, super light. Feel this, camera crew. You feel it?
Oh my goodness.
Hold it by the fuse rather than the EDF nacelle. That is so cool. And then they painted these covers, which I like that. A little bit disappointed in the tape. The tape is more noticeable than I would like it to be. Look at this exhaust vent. That is so good. Really happy with the way it's put together. There's supports for these here. Those dual rudders are going to be really cool. I'm excited to see how that works. Obviously the lid here, ooh, that's delicate, so we're going to need to be super careful here. Oh, so that goes in there, and then two magnets. These two magnets here, I'll just show you, they snap on there pretty good. This is very thin, so be super careful there, guys. And then there's a piece of foam here. It looks like some sort of support, and then the multi-purpose brick is back here. Okay, so here's the smart connector. There is a third position there, but there's nothing coming out of it, which is pretty awesome. So that means at some point we're gonna have access to that. Okay, so just jumping right into the radio setup, because there's not really any assembly here. The first step you're gonna wanna do, and one of the biggest advantages to using the Horizon Hobby products, this is of course an E-flite product that's under the Horizon Hobby name, is that they're gonna have a good English manual. It tells you about the weights, it tells you about all the setup, tells you where the CG is, which is 32 to 34 millimeters back from the leading edge. Does this thing have, oh, look at that. I think they, that'd be really cool.
That would be really
Let's
nice.
measure. If you want to just show them in the manual there.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be like way too good to be true if that sticker is the CG. 32 to 34 millimeters. So guys, look at this. Here's 32 right here. Oh, dang it. The world's crappiest calipers. So there's 32 to 34. Oh, buddy, look at that. So it looks like I would say that we're probably at the tail end of that to 34. So of course 34 is going to be out here. So there's 34. So I would say that's your back mark. I don't know if you guys can see that little dimple that I made. And I'll make kind of a similar dimple. So unfortunately that red dot is not really the leading edge. It's kind of the trailing edge. And then that's the back end of the range. So we always have a range for the CG. I mark them a bunch of different ways, but that's just easy peasy. Just do whatever's easy on a UMX. Typically your batteries are going to dictate where the CG is anyway. So let's figure this out. Okay. So same as usual for adjustments. Safe select, activating whatever channel you're on. And it looks like for the elevator, we're in the middle hole, ailerons are on the outside and rudders on the outside. For the control horn settings, make sure the nose gear is aligned forward as shown, okay? So like this, as opposed to the other way around. I'm not sure why that would make a big difference, but evidently they've got a reason for that. If you go to remove these, when you go to remove these, the biggest thing is you need to support this, okay? Don't just yank on it, because you'll probably yank the whole thing off. The whole, this, I believe this is called a canoe, right off of the wing. So you have to hold on here and pull it out. I'm not even gonna pull them out right now because I wanna leave the landing gear on. These things fly good enough that you will want to have the landing gear on there for wheels up, wheels down, in my opinion. Okay, so I'm looking for, okay, so here's the computerized transmitter setup. It's a little bit weird. They've deviated from their normal setup. Timer's 5 minutes. That's a pretty good flight time. Servo travel's 100. 10% on aileron for expo and rudder, but not on the, okay, 10% on all of them. And then 170. So I'll show you how I'm gonna do this a little bit
The
different.
reason this is so much smaller is it's all of them. Like,
Yep.
they aren't listing a whole bunch of different.
That's true. And there's none that need to be reversed either, which is nice. So as you can see so far from the very short video, we're pretty much done. So now we need to figure out how we're going to charge these batteries. Let's see what they look like. I mean, these unboxes are, I don't know. The way I look at it with unboxes, now it does come with this Velcro backing. And these usually come in the planes. This is the soft side. You want to feel that?
Mm-hmm.
Nice nails.
The loop side.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the hook side would be on the batteries evidently. Okay, so
No, the hook side is in here. It's right here.
it's on the side?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, cool. So we're gonna jump into the battery now and see how that looks. So these smart batteries are super nice. I have been incredibly impressed. This says IC2 on the side, which is great. Okay, so obviously we'll link to this so you can buy the exact same thing you're seeing in the video. Okay, it comes with tons of foam. Oh, nice. Nice, it's actually a smart pack now, which is so nice. So this has the smart chip in it and everything. Okay, but there's a caveat to that. This feels like it's pretty heavy. So what I want to do is I want to weigh everything for all up weight right now. We're just grabbing a kitchen scale. Nothing really too fancy about it. But let's see if we're below the 250 gram threshold, okay? So it's coming on, we're at 0 grams. So that's 71 grams plus, I think I'm gonna have to lay this down separately just to get it to sit. I'll set it like this maybe. If I can get the thing to sit, I may have to zero it. The canopy is off the bottom of the counter here and I'm at 117 grams plus the weight of the battery. We're at 188 grams, which means you're legal to fly without any drone registry on this, unless the laws change. You guys are responsible for following whatever rules you're gonna follow, not me, but I would recommend you follow the rules. The drone registry is pretty easy to follow right now. And the remote ID, they backed off a ton on a lot of really bad ideas they had. So at this point, it's pretty easy. So this thing is a great option. I am super excited to see it fly. And as you can see, it's dark outside right now. We're filming this on a Thursday night. And so we had a crazy windy afternoon. So we were hoping to kind of get this done tonight, but it's not going to be done tonight, which is really a bummer. Okay, so this requires a smart charger, it says. And that's because being that this is Gen 2, you'll notice there's not a balanced charge lead. Okay, so just be aware of that. Okay. And I'm going to show you exactly how I do this. I always cut that off because I'm going to know that with that warning. And then obviously because there's no balance lead on there, it's pretty evident that you're going to need to have an adapter, which is what brings us back to this. Now, the reason we need an adapter like this is so that we can plug in to our charger. So if you guys are looking for the part number, stop looking and look at the links below. Follow the links. You'll help support the channel. And when you get your RC points or whatever, if you're in the RC club, then you'll still be able to get that, still be able to use coupon codes. All that stuff still works, but you'll help support us. So please do follow the links. We usually try to link to all the items that are in a given video, and if you can't find it, then there's a master link at the top. So, all right, so what this does is that allows you to plug in right there, and you'll notice that the smart lead is connected all the way through to the charger. So let's bring it right over to the brand new Gen 2 charger. I have been loving this S2200, exceptional value. Well, it's expensive, but it works really good. Let's just put it that way. So because this is an EC2, watch how hard this is, guys. Watch this, it's already charging. You don't need to know nothing about nothing, but it's better to know something about something.
It's so easy, I can do it.
So 850 milliamps, it's going to give you how long it needs. Look at how fast it's charging. Oh my goodness. It's already at 32. It's not even going to have time to update the time by the time it's done charging. So being that that's a dual port charger, 2 channels, we can go ahead and charge both of these, which of course I want 2 ready. That's 10 minutes worth of flying time, and I'm probably going to fly it like 10 times. So obviously with these little smart packs, you want to be very gentle to the leads. They are still pretty strong compared to some of the competitive choices. But I can tell you this, just they're not a huge wire, so don't get too crazy. This is still so much better than the JST PH that we were used to dealing with. I mean, granted, they were fine, they worked, but, oh, thank you, camera crew. They were fine and they worked, but everybody always complained about not having the right adapters. Unfortunately, we're gonna have another adapter, but I can tell you this right now, that is so much more surface area. When I plug that thing in, there's pressure, and look at this. Just like with an XT60 or whatever, you can stick a screwdriver in there, a Phillips screwdriver, and open those up if they get worn down, and you're gonna get great contact. Okay, so let's just see how hard this is, guys. Oh, wait, let's use an old charger. Okay, so like the S1500, which is a Gen 1 charger. Okay, so we're gonna let that fire up just so you can see what happens when you plug it in. Watch this. This is with the firmware update. Initiating smart charge. There you have it, guys. Sorry, we're trying to avoid a glare for you. Okay, 48 minutes left. Look how fast that came up. That's awesome. Now over here, if you want to come back over, you'll notice it's charging at 0.8 amps. Okay, so if it's charging at 0.8 amps, I'm gonna have you scooch over there, camera crew. I'm gonna press and hold the play, and I'm gonna stop the charge, and then I'm gonna press play for menu, or excuse me, I'm gonna press back. What do I press?
Press and hold play.
There's your individual cell voltages. I'm gonna press and hold this now, and I'm gonna go up to, or down to, smart battery settings. Auto store set to 72 hours. You can set that to off, or you can go all the way up to 240 hours, which is what I typically do just because the nature. Oh, and then somebody asked me the other day about the charge setting. So it discharges them to 3.9 volts by default, but you can go into that setting and you can change that down to as low as 3.7 volts. Or you can just leave it off too. I like to leave it a little bit higher because they do auto discharge really quick when they're ready. There is a chip inside of here that will warm up when it's in the auto discharge cycle. So don't be alarmed, but just be aware, okay? Now you can also change your charge rate. So if we scroll down to the current right there, you can change that to as fast as, or as low as 0.1 amps and as fast as 4.2. And if you look at this, it says 4.25 amps right on the pack. See that? 4.25 amps. So that is really nice. So basically, the charger knows what this thing can take, and you can set this to charge at 4.2. So let's just show you how fast that looks. Okay, 4.2 amps. Remember, it's going to update this. I'm going to try to not screw up the exposure again. Okay, so 4.2 amps. Look how fast it's going. So now it's going to count up 12, 13, 14 milliamp hours. And then that's going to basically change the value for the charge remaining time. But that does take a second because it has to actually tabulate the time it takes to go from point A to point B. And then I can linearize that with an assumption. So 9 minutes left. So you can have this thing charged from essentially storage charge to flying in like, let's call it 10 to 12 minutes. That's pretty amazing. That's a 5-minute flight time. So you could almost, and by the way, like on this battery charger, on this S1500, you could just have a big old 7,000 milliamp hour pack or 5,000 milliamp hour Gen 2 pack, whatever you happen to have lying around. You could plug that sucker in there with your correct adapters, of course, because that has an IC5. And then you could charge these things in minutes. I mean, minutes, and you could be up and flying. That is really cool. So that being said, really excited to try this. We're gonna give those batteries a second to charge, and then we're gonna come right back. Okay, so you remember me mentioning that we had this little JST to IC2 connector, okay? So I just wanna show you how this works. This is pretty obvious stuff, okay? So it's not gonna work, right? So I've got a JST to IC3, and so this will allow us to use the Gen 2 charger or otherwise to charge the old Onyx 3-cell, okay, packs. So we can just I got to make sure I know how fast this is going to charge. It's going to charge at 3.2, might be a little much for an 800 milliamp hour. So I'm going to go in here because this isn't the smart pack. It doesn't know what speed, so it just kind of diverts back to whatever it was. So I'm going to be nice to it because I'm not like in a big hurry right now. So I'll just put it at 0.8. I'll scroll down here and start. Okay, so this one is now charging. And then this one is still charging. So it's less than 5 minutes left to charge this. This is charging at 4.2 amps. So it's already down to 0.9 amps. So my guess is it's probably just ramping down. It should be done any second. So while that's getting ready, obviously when this one's done, we can go ahead and plug this in. And of course, you could use a balance charger on the non-smart packs. On the smart packs, you're going to need to use one port for each one. So in fact, let's go to another older charger. Let's just use this one. We'll use the S2100 just to show it can be done. Obviously, we're going to need another adapter there. So we got a million of these adapters. When you do this hobby for more than 5 minutes, you're going to end up with a lot of adapters, okay? So this is IC3 to JST. We'll plug it into that channel. And just do yourself a favor, if you're flying these airplanes, you can either buy the adapters or you can build the adapters, obviously. Okay, so this has got the updated firmware in it. So you can press and hold. And it's at the last charge rate, which is 2.7 amps. So we're going to set that down to 0.8 amps. Because this is an 800 milliamp hour battery, and then start. And it's not hard to do that when you know what you're doing, but when you're new to the hobby, if you get these Gen 2 packs, which are significantly more expensive, they're going to do everything you need them to do to give you a very high probability of success, safety, and then also longevity.
Can I ask a dumb question?
It's not dumb, but go ahead.
Can you use multiple adapters? Can you go from the JST to the IC2 with this little one, and then the IC2 to the IC3?
So this one's done. So since it's done, we'll unplug it and answer your question. Okay. So you're saying, can we use this to go from here to there?
Yes.
Sure.
Is that okay?
I believe you can do that as well. It'd be a little bit backwards, but you can definitely do it. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
Yeah, so so if I wanted to plug this one in here and charge it, yes, you could definitely do it. Now, the other thing too is, because this is a not smart pack, you need to make sure you don't charge without the balance lead, okay? It's not going to allow you to do it. It shouldn't allow you to do it, but if something would come up in the question process, then just say no. Because the chargers will ask you that. On a Gen 1 pack, for instance, this 3200 has a balance lead and it has the discharge lead that is still a smart pack. This is Gen 1 though, because it has the balance lead. A Gen 2 will not have the balance lead, okay? So it's not gonna ask you, it's just gonna start. This one you can plug in just this lead and you can just start it. So like, watch this. Without plugging in the balance lead, I'm just gonna plug this one in. It's gonna automatically switch to this channel. Yep. Okay, whoops. So I'm going to go to start, continue without balancing, okay? Because this battery automatically always balances. That is one of the key features. It's not the auto discharge that you want. That is a huge feature and it's awesome. But what you want is the constant balancing. So when you're flying a plane, you never have one cell, say it's a 4S, you don't have one cell that sags and then turns a 4S into a 3S all of a sudden. That's when you crash, because you'll lose the power that you're expecting. Well, it's usually two that sag, and then you're really screwed. And then you go from 4S down to 2S, and then you really do crash, because you go like, woo, done. With these things, they're always balanced, and that's really critical. And the Gen 2 are exceptional at keeping balanced. I thought when these first came out, nah, they're awesome. They're every bit as good as they say they are. Okay, so here we go. So let's see how this fits in here. Let's see how I'm not even gonna plug it in yet, but I should. No, I'm not. I really, really wanna plug it in, but I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna plop this in here and see how we compete with space. Looks like it's supposed to go right here, okay? So let's just see how that goes. And I'll just kind of wrap the lead. Obviously, you want to watch out for that rudder connection. There's actually quite a bit of room for being a jet. That was really easy. Let's see the CG. Wow, that is awesome. For once, you put a battery in a jet and it fits. Now, I know some of you guys are screaming at the screen, but Brian, I'm gonna break the nose off the first time I crash. It's not impossible that that would happen. So, how are we gonna resolve that problem? By not crashing. Okay, so here we go. It's time for the NX6 radio setup. And yes, I know some of you are screaming at the screen again saying, Brian, why aren't you using the NX8? Well, because you don't need the NX8 to make this work. And so as a result, we are going to use what you would need. This isn't the minimum. You can use the old DX line. I have a Gen 1 DX18. It has all the forward programming, all the cool new bells and whistles, and it will work just fine with this plane. But again, we're going to use the NX6 so we can show what most people are going to be using. Okay, this is actually a 7-channel transmitter, by the way, despite what it says right here. Okay, so first things first, we're going to click. We're going to scroll down to System Setup. We're going to disconnect the RF. That light shuts off. Model Select. Scroll all the way to the bottom. Add New Plane. Create. It's going to make an acro, which is what we use for terminology for a new plane. Okay, so that's where you can change the model type if you need to. By the way, very sophisticated, very sophisticated, very sophisticated, very simple. Which is funny because I almost never do anything that's not an acro. Then the model name, we go in here, it's model number 17, :space. You can change these numbers, by the way. Okay, and you can resort them. But for today, we are going to type in UMX. And we will come right back. Basically, you click, and then you scroll, and then you click to highlight, and you change the value. See how that works? Okay, so we'll come back when we get this typed in. I usually just do per the manual, whatever the front of the manual says. Okay, so we have the UMX A-10 Thunderbolt 2. We couldn't do the II Roman numerals because we are out of space on that. That is one thing I believe might change with the NX8, NX10. That's normal. I've seen that or heard that every time. Okay. So now I want to go into the manual and just verify. This is normally where I would jump into the manual, just double check. There's nothing really too crazy going on here. So it should be pretty straightforward. So we're going to walk out. We're going to click down, go to throttle cut, turn it on, and assign it to the switch we desire, in my case H. Now I'm going to look down at this monitor. I'm going to move the stick. I don't see the throttle moving. That's perfect. I'm going to unlock it, and then it does move. Okay. Now I'm going to turn that on. Okay. I want to check something. Audio events. System sounds. Center tone. Can you see this? See how it says it's silenced? It must be something else that's causing that. I bet it's the start and stop of the timer. So that's the next thing we need to set up, which is the timer. See how it starts and stops, start, stop? Because I hate that center tone. It drives me nuts.
It's like the 25% thing
Yep.
on the timer.
Yep, that's what it is. Okay, so now watch this timer. Now watch this. We can test my theory right now. So 75%? Yep, that's what it is.
Sounds weird.
Okay, so we can set that back down to 25%. That's when it's going to start the timer. Okay, so you hear that beep. And it's set to 5 minutes, which is what they recommend for the timer, 5 minutes. So you also have to go into the next. And then 1 minute, I don't want to tone. 30 seconds, I don't want to tone. 20 seconds, I don't want to tone. 10 seconds, I want voice. I want it to count down. And I want tone and vibrate. Okay, so people are always asking me, do you really like this as much as you say? Yes. The only feature that I don't like about this as much as my DX18 was, of course, the channel count. But I don't really care. Like, it hasn't been a problem yet. But beyond that, it's the vibration is weaker. Now, there's two functions to that that are really important. One, if you have a weaker vibration, it's cheaper for the manufacturer, I would imagine. but it doesn't vibrate off the table like. It's almost happened to me once because my DX18 was vibrating and it was on a counter and it was just slowly walking because it was so strong. So that's one thing to be careful about. The inactivity warning will eventually sound to prevent the thing from presumably running out of battery. I mean, if you were inactive on a transmitter and you're flying an airplane, that could be kind of weird. So, like if you die or something, I guess. I don't know. If you have safe on it, just keep going. All right, so anyway, getting back to the point on that morbid high note. So every minute we want it to tone. That's good enough for me. Then next, and we have no other beeps. But did you see that? Did it say none? Whoops, I went back, dang it.
Wait though, you have to go back to inhibit. You didn't do the one out.
It's not beeping. I know,
Oh,
but it's not
do you
beeping.
want to not beep at all?
It just drives me nuts is all. I only want it to beep when it starts and when it stops. Or starts when it starts and when it's cleared. I'll do that too, though, camera crew. So the reset's fine. Start. Okay, and then timer, 1 out should fix that. Active. See? So much better. See, we resolved a problem we didn't even know there was a problem with. Okay, so we're gonna clear that by hitting the cancel button. And by the way, guys, if you didn't know this, you can assign these buttons to do functions on your plane too. So like if you had a bomb drop function, you could be like bomb drop, and you can actually set that up. It's so cool. Okay, so click, and what else do we need to do? We need to do dual rates in Expo. Okay, so now this is where they suggest having dual rates set to high for 100%. So that means like when you pull the stick all the way down, it makes 100%, movement. And so you can see it moving on the chart there. And then on low rates, you would move it, and then that would be 70% instead of 100, okay? So what we're gonna do instead, we're gonna do it a little bit different. So, because they suggest 10% on aileron, elevator, and rudder for Expo. So Expo, the easiest way to describe it is it softens the center of the stick, but that just means nothing to people that don't know what they're doing. Because when you're new, you're gonna be like, what is Expo and why do I really need it? I'm just gonna keep using my what is it, the DXE or whatever. I'm just gonna keep using that until I die. No, you aren't. Just trust me. Just do yourself a favor. Stop denying how awesome this is and just buy one. Because that was me, believe me, I was with you. Because I'm like, I don't need no Expo. Well, Expo is awesome, and you'll find out very quickly. It's awesome. So anyway, just take my word for it. Just set up your model with no Expo in this top setting, and then set it up with what I tell you in the middle, and then set it up for something even more on the bottom. And you're gonna be like immediately to the bottom step. I guarantee it when you're new. You'll be like, wow, I wish somebody taught me this in school. Okay, so getting back to the point. So on switch, you can switch that to whatever switch you like. I like F for this because I don't generally mess with it in flight, but I need to have an out, meaning I need to be able to get to the ground, okay? So if there's a problem. So on switch F, see how it changed on accident? Okay, so I'm on ailerons. So they're recommending 10, so I'll actually do 0. Then I'll do 10. And I'm gonna actually go more like 30 because I'm not gonna change my rates in the top setting, and then I'll drop my rate down to like 90. Then in this setting, I'm gonna do like 20, and then I'm gonna do this to 10, okay? So I've already got what they recommend, but it's at 100% output, okay? So 110, then 120, and then 90 and 30, okay? So that means it's gonna soften the center, and you can see what the chart looks like, but then nobody ever understands what the chart is until you start using it, and you're like, oh, wow, that makes perfect sense. So when I move the stick all the way over here, it's only ever gonna put 90% output, whereas in either of these two settings, it's gonna go full to 100. And you're like, but Brian, it's not to the top of the box. That's because this will demonstrate 125, not 100. See how that says 125? Okay. And this is minus 125, because you can actually set your throws over 100%. Pause, and let's talk, well, not you, camera crew, sorry. Okay. Did you already pause?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so pump the brakes for a minute, and let's talk about that. On these ultra micros, there have been times when people have recommended backing off your outputs on these ultra, they call them long throw linear servos. So show them inside of here what that looks like. So instead of a conventional servo, they use these like boards. It's like a PC board with a motor mounted on there, and then there's a gear. And there's a long screw essentially and a gearbox and all this. And then it moves this in and out. But see, it's kind of a low torque, it's a low torque motor that's geared, and so you have very strong output for how small the servo is. Unlike a standard servo where you can actually drive that by hand, you can move it. These you can't because you're going through a corkscrew mechanism, okay? So that corkscrew runs, and it runs very fast, and those motors do get hot. Well, anyway, the point is they would get to the end of the throw, and then they would get stuck. And so people would back off their servo throws from like 100 to like 95 or 94 or 93 or 92. So if you ever experience a problem on one of these ultra micros, that is one thing you can do. I'll show you how to do it. I'm not gonna probably do it. I'm gonna leave it at 100, but I'll show you how to do it here in a minute. Okay, so we'll come back to that. For now, let's finish the dual rates and expo. Okay, so that's the low setting, middle, and high. And ironically enough, we're gonna do that for all three of the control channels: aileron, elevator, and rudder. Okay, so we'll just go to, whoops, we want to leave that at 0 for now, and we'll jump over and we'll switch this to switch F. You can actuate the switch to make your assignment when you're doing that, okay? Okay, so then the middle setting is 20. And then the way you change this, it says curve 2. That's what you're changing. So there's curve 0, curve 1, curve 2, and up here it says 0, 1, 2. Okay, so switch F, 0, 1, 2. So this is position 0, position 1, position 2. Okay. Now, you're probably thinking, good lordy lord, Brian, why do you go into so much detail? Well, that's just my style.
I was gonna say.
It's the way I do things. Because I want you to learn this stuff. I don't want to just tell you what to do. You can do it. You can go and download directly to this device, this model, without actually putting anything in here. But I'm telling you, you are wasting one of the most expensive tools that you will use on every single plane from here till the end of, buying E-flite planes. So I'm gonna suggest strongly that you go through the process of setting these things up. You will learn the way that the radio system works, and you'll be a better pilot because of it. Okay, come back, sorry. Okay, so switch F, we're gonna go expo to 10. On the 0 setting, on the 1 setting, we're gonna do 20. And then on the 2 setting, you're gonna do 30. And then we're gonna drop this down. Okay, so now pump the brakes for a second again. We're gonna talk about expo. On some manufacturers, I think it's FR Sky, the expo is actually backward from what I'm used to on Spectrum, okay? That's just a nuance, you have to be aware of it. I've had some people ask questions about that. Why do you do positive expo as opposed to negative expo? That's because that's the way it works on Horizon. Now that being said, I can also do negative expo, and that will make the center of the sticks even more responsive. Okay, so now why do I do the same thing for all three channels of control, which would be the elevator, the rudder for yaw, and then the ailerons for roll? The reason I do all three the same, as opposed to following what the manual suggests, which is high at 100 and low at 70, is because I just feel like I don't want to give up the maximum throw. But if I do a little bit more expo, it kind of gives you the same feel, but you can still jank that stick all the way back and make that plane flip out of the way of the tree or whatever, okay? So just keep that in mind. That's why I do that. But in practical reality, I fly in the middle. I hardly ever come out of the middle setting. So after my maiden, I say, did I do good on that? Or if I remember. And then I go in, maybe I'll kick up the ailerons a little bit if it was a little bit too touchy. Or I'll kick a little bit more expo into the elevator if the elevator's touchy. Also, if the elevator's touchy, you may want to check your CG, make sure you're actually where you thought you were, or if the battery shifted. So just a couple things to think about. I almost always start with the same exact setup. It's really handy to have a standard setup that you know is going to get you in the air. If it's too much expo, you can go back here, and that's going to be like basically by the book, okay, on high rates. And if I go down here, it's going to be way softer sticks. So if you get up in the air and you're stuck, you're going to be you know, probably coming down in multiple pieces. So you always want to give yourself an out. And so that's why I have an out for less and I have an out for more on Expo. Okay, so now moving on, we have throttle cut set. We have throttle cut set, we have the timer set, and we were going to talk about servo throws now for just a second. They don't talk about this in the manual because, well, probably because they don't want to talk about it. So servo setup, travel, this is how you do it. It's very easy. You can do it for throttle, you can do it for ailerons. You notice it's on the bottom. You have to move the stick to the middle. Oh, throttle cut's on. You have to move the stick to the middle to be able to adjust both of those, just so you know. Okay, so ailerons, you could reduce the output if you were concerned about your servos. Like this. And you'll never know any better. And it's like, hey, hold on. This is a 6-channel transmitter, right? 6-channel. There's only 6 there, right? Right? Why is there 1 there? It's not assigned to anything, but it's there. So, if you guys weren't aware, there is a 7th channel on the NX6. Okay, we've talked about it a bunch on this channel, so it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody if you've seen any of our videos. So that's it. So it's ready to go. So 6 down for throttle. Throttle cuts on. Expo's in the middle. Gear switch is where I want it. This is where we're probably going to assign safe select after a minute. So we've got everything in the fail safe where I want it. So I want safe to be on. Okay. And then everything is neutral. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we can either power this off, which I'm going to do, or you can go into the bind mode. I've never done it with the bind mode with the transmitter on. It's just a creature of habit thing. This is the bind switch, and when you're ready, you're going to do that, and you're going to press and hold this to wake it up or to turn it back on. That's one of the very few things I don't like about the NX6 is because they have a push button as opposed to a toggle switch or a rocker switch or something to turn it on and off, but it's much harder to accidentally turn off your transmitter with this method because you have to sit and hold that power button. Okay, so without further ado, guys, you've already seen the flights and stuff, so if these videos are too long for you, I apologize. That's why they make fast forward. Okay, so here goes nothing. It's going to automatically go into bind mode. So you plug this in. Okay, so you hear a couple of beeps. It's obviously in bind mode. You can't see through this opaque finish, so I'm going to press and hold this. While pressing the power button, it comes on. It says binding. Sweet. So it's done. Now it's auto configuring. That's going to be for telemetry. And we're up and running. So now, elevator, up, down. Aileron, left, right. I'm actually going to turn this, and then camera crew, if you want to come over here. So elevator, up, down. Aileron, roll left, roll right. Rudder left, rudder right, and steerable nose here, left and right. Very good. So obviously better than most of the competitive brands that would make something this size class. Obviously no flaps, which is a bummer. And then, of course, we have our Expo set up. So just to test that real quick, you see how that's up there? Should drop back, should go up, should drop back. That's our 90% versus 100%, okay? Now, that is also scaled to whatever your servo output is. So if your servo output is set to 125, then 90% is 90% of the full output, okay? Not 90% of 100. It's 90% of the output that you set up. So the basis of that is going to be set in the servo range under servo setup, the travel, okay? So never overdrive these linear servos. You are likely to break them, just so you know. Okay, very cool. So now let's go into telemetry real quick before we do anything else. So to get to telemetry, you can actually just scroll once it's auto-configured. So you see your receiver voltage is 4.2 volts. That's pretty cool. Then there's the min-max for voltage. There's your ESC. Let's see if that works. Throttle cut is off. This is going to be kind of obnoxious. Look at the RPMs. Oh, this thing is going to be powerful. You see the RPMs? That's so cool. It shows you the volts and it shows you the amps. Very cool. Throttle's at 1%. Look at that. That's the battery level. See it recover? Mm-hmm. That's so cool. Another thing too is when you're running EDFs, just be prepared. You're gonna blow through the battery faster than you might expect. So you can also go in here, I wanna show you something. Scroll down to telemetry, smart battery, empty. Volts, let's see what volts looks like. I wanna go and see if I can find Vario, G-Force, GPS. Yes, 3X, that's so cool. Flight pack, milliamp hours. Oh yes, that's pretty cool. So let's see what happens when I run this. That's powerful. Oh my goodness, for a little plane. Okay, so that doesn't look very helpful. Gyroscope, user defined one. 6S LiPo monitor. Oh yes. Okay, so let's see what this does, if it does anything. So if it exists, I don't know if it's actually doing anything. Smoke, that is so cool. There's so many cool things on here. Okay, so basically I'm gonna leave it like that. You can also go into audio events and you can set up telemetry warnings, which is a really helpful tool. And it's kind of weird that you have to navigate there from where you have to navigate, but it is something that's really helpful. So under smart battery, whoops, you see it automatically. If you ever screw up that stuff, watch this. Telemetry warnings, auto config, it's gonna put it back to what the default was, because I screwed it up. As soon as you change it, it puts it into another slot. Okay, so battery, the smart battery is what I wanna do. There you go. So now you can set your warnings. If it's 4.1 per cell, you'll have a tone. If it's 4.3 per cell, you'll have a tone. Like, I don't really want a tone for that. In balance, that would be kind of helpful, but I want it to be voice. Because, is there a voice for this one? Oh, there's not. It's just tone. Shoot, some of them allow you to have a voice and then she will actually tell you what's going on, which is really handy. Smart ESC, so you have to press it twice. And you can have them call out. The low voltage warning is set to 3.6 per cell. And you can have that voice, yes. That is so nice. Okay, so basically what that means is that now when I'm flying along, as opposed to depending on a 5-minute timer, I can fly, 3.6 volts per cell, warning. And then it will just be this obnoxious warning that keeps coming up. Then you immediately chop the throttle and you glide to where you're in a safe spot, and then you can use throttle sparingly and you can bring it in and land it gorgeously. And it's just gonna be perfect. I can't wait to try it. Okay, so our timer is counting down as we speak. We have a 1-hour timer set. That means that once you go over 25%, it keeps running. That's what you want to do in an EDF because you're going to need to juice this thing to keep it flying. So that being said, I want to try this too because we did this with the big A-10 and it was a big hit on my. Oh, look. I'm holding it in my hand. This thing has power to spare. That is awesome. Okay, so that is a very good sign because what do we know about power? What does power do?
Power saves lives.
Airplane lives, that's right. Very good. Okay, so throttle cut's on. I'm super excited about that, by the way. That is really good. If you have a more than 1-to-1 power to weight ratio, you're gonna be able to get out of lots of bad behavior. Okay, so let's talk about safe select designation because right now, are we in safe or are we in AS3X? We are in AS3X. How do you tell the difference? AS3X is artificial 3-axis stabilization. So if the wind blows this wing down, what's gonna happen, camera crew?
It's gonna resist.
It's gonna resist. So the aileron, well, how about we blow upward so that this goes up? It's gonna be hard for you to see unless you're over here. So you're gonna have to probably get close. Same thing with the rudder. When I rotate the plane that way quickly, it's gonna move the rudders that way. When I move up quickly, it's gonna move up quickly, but it's gonna be really hard for you to see that. Now, you also notice nothing weird happens here. They basically are in position. You hear the little AS3X jitters and things like that, okay? But it's not trying to auto level the plane. AS3X is the basis for SAFE, which is sensor aided flight envelope. So it's going to help you keep a flight envelope, and it's going to also auto level you. And you can, and there's some, Safe Select is just going to do the auto leveling, and it's going to give you limited bank angles, okay? So in order to set that, you have to be using a channel that's available, okay? So you can scroll over to monitor, that's one move to the right, and you can see if this channel does something. Oh, it's already set, look. See that? How the elevator's changing condition? Safe is off. Safe is on. How do you know? Because it's trying to find the quickest route to level. Okay? So, look at the elevator. It's trying to push the nose down. Look at the elevator. It's trying to pull the nose up. I don't think the rudder is really, that's just AS3X. So, this is automatically set here on this. So I'm in AS3X now. I'm in safe now. I want to rotate that. I'm going to show you how. Go to servo setup. Go over to reverse. And this is the gear switch. You can also tell just by looking down at the monitor. Boom, there you go. So now AS3X is in this switch down condition. And then when I pull it up toward myself, it'll auto level the plane. So very cool, very easy setup. I went into tons of detail on that. You don't necessarily have to set it up the way I set it up, but you can set it up that way if you want, or you can download the model.
And if you are, like, if you're new to the AS3X thing, you have to go over 25% with your throttle.
Yes,
Activate.
AS3X is not active until you go over 25% throttle. That is true. Safe, I think, might be active right away. I'm not sure. We could test that right now. Let's test that because I'm curious myself. Okay, one thing too I'm going to tell you is that there is a bit more strength up here because the plastic is wider here. I would try to avoid pulling by the canopy because I feel like it's going to break eventually. Okay. So I love this battery. It's so easy to plug and unplug.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so much stronger than what I'm used to, but you see what I'm bracing my fingers against each other. So when I pull hard, I don't yank the plane and damage something, okay? So let's plug this back in. Now wait for the dance. Battery not charged for flying. You can cancel that warning, okay? So now let's see what happens when I flip the plane. It's quiet. There is no AS3X yet, okay? So throttle cuts off, over 25%, and it's working. So super excited. That is so cool. I can't wait to get this thing in the air. It is gonna scream like demons from Hellspawn, but I can tell you this, it is gonna be very powerful, and I'm super excited. Esteban is gonna love this one.
Just thinking.
Esteban, my
You know who won't?
our cameo, he won't like this one because it's so loud. If you have tinnitus, that would be one reason to maybe get some good hearing protection before you fly this thing. It's gonna scream. Guys, you've already seen it scream. I haven't. I'm jealous of you because this thing is gonna be gorgeous. I can't wait to see it fly myself. I'm a sucker for the A-10. It is one of my all-time favorites. And yes, the UMXs are also one of my all-time favorites. We don't often take you into the office, but we have lots of UMXs. This is just a few of them. And we have even more in our closet, but our wonderful kitties are, of course, taking up space. So I'm already envisioning a new parking spot for this thing, possibly. I really, really like these 30mm EDFs have solved all the problems from the 28mm EDFs that were on the previous lineup. You'll notice you don't see any 28mm EDFs up here. You want to know why? They weren't very good. So anyway, these are awesome and they solve all the problems. And guess what? With smart technology, it's going to solve the rest of the problems. That being said, I didn't have a lot of problems to begin with the UMX lineup, but my second plane after the Sport Cub UMX was a Habu 180 UMX, and that thing screamed and it was underpowered and it broke immediately on landings. And I'm talking with perfect landings, it would break in half. So very frustrating for a beginner. And that's what we're going to talk about for just 30 seconds before we call this quits. If this is your first plane, I might be telling you it's not a good, I would not necessarily recommend any EDF for a first plane with the exception of the Habu, which is a now full size, and they have modified it significantly to be a very good flying 70 millimeter EDF. 70 millimeters meaning 7 centimeters, so it's like this big, and is super easy to fly. That could definitely be a first plane, but still, again, probably not the best choice because there's better choices for a first plane. That being said, if you're a sucker for A-10s and you don't mind throwing some money away and just flying the heck out of this and getting a lot of glue and things like that to fix it when you crash, then we will be glad to take you under our wing and help lick your wounds if this is your first plane. But I don't ever want to talk somebody out of buying a beautiful plane. Just keep in mind, first planes should probably be something slow and easy to fly. And this is probably not going to be super slow and easy to fly in that way. It's going to be faster and a little bit harder to fly and a little bit more vulnerable to damage. The other thing too is if you're new to flying and you really want to do this and maybe it's like your second or third plane, that's why they say level 2, folks. It's level 2, it's not level 1. And it's also not level 3. It's also not level 4. I don't even know what those levels mean. I just know it's not level 1, okay? So that just means it's harder than a beginner plane. That being said, if you're gonna fly this thing and you just can't resist the temptation and you're willing to fly on safe, which means you need a wide open area because it takes forever to turn when you have safe. Keep that in mind, it's very important. We fly in kind of close quarters on this channel. If you're flying in close quarters, you're gonna pretty much have to be out of safe so you can make your turns sharp enough to avoid obstacles. If you're trying to fly that way, forget about it. Just get a bigger area, make sure you got ample room, and make sure, if you can, do it with tall grass, like knee high. And you can literally just come in and just stall this thing and let it fall in the grass. And chances are it's gonna survive. If you do that with short grass, it's not gonna really help you that much. You're better off to just land it on pavement or asphalt or geotextile fabric or something of the sort, okay? It's gonna help your plane survive because this nose is gonna be a little bit weak. Some guys are gonna come out, I can already tell it's gonna be all over RC groups. They're gonna be like carbon fiber spars here. Well, I can tell you this right now. If you put too many spars in the wrong places, you'll make the plane fly like crap because it's gonna be too heavy. Even carbon fiber carries some weight. My best recommendation is when you're flying this thing, be really easy on it. Flare if you can for landings. Hopefully I'm not gonna be with you needing consolation after my first flight, but I can tell you I'm dying to see it fly. So hopefully it was great, and hopefully you guys will check the link in the description below. We will link to the NX line. If you like the 6 and you're satisfied with the way this works, obviously the 6 is gonna be just fine for this plane, and to be perfectly honest, guys, it's gonna be fine for most all of the current line of bind and fly planes from Spectrum, excuse me, not from Spectrum, from Horizon Hobby or E-flite. This is Spectrum brand. Spectrum is owned by Horizon, just like E-flite, okay? So this uses DSM-X, DSM-2. That is a protocol for transmission from this to that, for the controls that go from this to that, and for the telemetry from this back to it, okay? So this is DSM-X. DSM-2 is the predecessor, DSM-1 is predecessor to DSM-2. If you're doing big fly-ins, or if you're in certain club environments, then the DSM-X may be required as opposed to DSM-2. So just keep that in mind. Most of the new stuff is gonna be DSM-X, you should be fine. Any questions? What have we not talked about, camera crew?
I think we got everything.
Yep, and the batteries, we'll link to the batteries, we'll link to the connectors, which we normally don't, but just given that this is a new connector for me, I wanna make sure to show you guys how to go ahead and get those adapters if you don't already have access to them. One trick, if you're in a pinch and you just really wanna use this battery, I'm gonna show you one trick. And this is a trick that it's not necessarily gonna be the best way of doing it, but it will get you out of hot water. And I've had to do it on a few different applications where I get strange batteries. Occasionally I'll get batteries that are like, you know, XT30s and things like this. You can see the XT30 is a real similar size, but it's not the same. What will sometimes get you out of hot water if you just really need something to get the thing charged is many times you can find a bullet connector from a motor lead, and then you can get those things charged. But keep in mind, this is a smart pack. okay? So if you're gonna do that, you also have to carry the data over to what you're going to. So just keep that in mind. That's part of the reason why we're talking about connectors so much on this video, because this is a new style of connector, which I know some of you are gonna find really annoying, but I'm very happy about it because this is a good connector, and the pH, the micro 2S pH connectors, which we all know from the UMX lineup, were always notoriously difficult to keep in good condition. Not as bad as the micro 1S, not near as bad, but I just felt like you could never quite get them to discharge right. So that being said, I'm very happy to have this connector. And if it takes over all the micro pH, I'll be fine with that too. So it is a little bit heavier though, but only by maybe a 1 gram, I'm guessing. Really happy with this. We've been very happy with this. We're up to 17 models in here, by the way. It goes fast, okay? This plane, I hope, is as awesome as we think it's gonna be, and we will link to all of it. Guys, if you wanna help support the channel, that's the #1 thing you can do beyond liking, subscribing, help YouTube, help you to find us when you're wanting to find something about RC. And the best way you can do that is like the video. If you're watching this deep into the video, I'm sure you liked it like an hour ago. But the thing is, we really appreciate you doing that. We have super loyal audience. We've got super loyal partners that we work with, like Horizon, and a variety of other partners that we've worked with. I won't mention them here because this is such an awesome plane. I want to be nice to them. But we wouldn't be here without the support from the partners that we have and the support from you guys. Best audience on YouTube. And we know you have a million other places you can go, but you're here right now. So thank you guys. And the camera crew thanks you. And we're really happy that you guys are being a part of our RC experience. And we're very happy that the camera crew is being part of the RC experience. Otherwise, I would be in hot water. So come back for more. YouTube, we seriously have an amazing box to show you right now. Come with us. Look at that cutie. We don't normally show you the Amazon boxes we get, but this one is so cool. Look at that. What is going on here? Sorry, kitty. Sorry, jeez. Look at these guys.
Can you even see them all?
They're so cute.
No.
They're so cute.
There's 3 of them.
Oh, look, here comes Dad. Dad/brother. Kingdom and Amelia.
These guys are 2 days old.
Show him Dad. Dad's wanting to be part of the show.
I know.
Dad has been actually pretty helpful.
Yeah, he has.
Which is so weird because it's like, I don't know how things like this work. But this is Colby. And Callie, her sister, is really ticked off right now.
Yes, she is.
And hissing every time that she gets in the room, basically. So, but we have a sneaky suspicion that when this happened, he was busy with the other sister too. So it's going to be an all-out Jerry Springer episode.
Extra unboxing fun.
In about a week. So stay tuned. We'll give you an update.